Straight Life by Art and Lori Pepper. Hello. This is episode 55 of Straight Life. In episode 54, Art was on the street, separated from Diane, homeless, boosting, shooting dope. Episode 55 is part of the section called Stealing, and it's my favorite section of the book. We worked very hard on it. Art behaves very badly at some points, and I wasn't trying to justify what he says he wanted to do or would have done, but I was trying to elucidate what his state of mind was, and I think I did it, and I think he was very eloquent describing it. One warning: if you don't like politically incorrect language and you find it offensive, you might not want to listen to this episode. Here's the narrative. Boosting is hard. Every day you go through the hassle of stealing some little thing, taking a chance of getting busted, trying to sell it to a fence, going out to score. And by the time you do all that and fix, usually you've shot up all the dope that you got, and it's time to go out and steal something else. It was a continuous job. It was a drag. I'd go to bed at night, and maybe I'd have a little bit of dope left. I knew if I had a get-up, if I could fix in the morning, I'd be able to get started. But what would happen? I'd go to sleep and dream about dope, dream about police chasing me, dream about jail, and I would wake up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning soaked with sweat and panicked. These dreams had just taken all the dope out of me, I felt. And so I would invariably shoot my get-up, go back to sleep, and then wake up at 8 and not have anything and be sick. And then that thing would start of running around trying to figure out how to get money and where to score. So many things could go wrong. There's been times when I'd be going to one connection and everything was running along smooth. And then one day I'd make the phone call and some strange voice would answer, or his old lady. Yeah, he's not here anymore. Or, he doesn't live here. I would have to find another connection. I'd have to go all over. Then I'd run into somebody and I'd ask the guy, does he have anything? And he'd say, no, man, I just sold my last gram, but I know where I can score for you, man. So you don't want to, but the only thing you can do is go with him. And here you are with some guy in a car in all kinds of weird neighborhoods. You're in places where it's real hot as far as the heat goes, and you don't feel safe. And you're trying to figure out some way to score without putting the money out in front because you might get burned. But the guy says, man, I got to have the bread. I can't take you to the man. I got to have the bread to buy the stuff. If you don't trust me, forget it, man. He'd get indignant. So you had to be cool, and you might give him $20 or $50, and that's it. That's your money. And you're sick already, and you think, what if he doesn't come back? I've had guys let me off on a corner, and the police are going by, and I've got to find a place where they won't see me vomiting, but there's nowhere to go. I'm waiting and watching every car. The guy says, I'll be back in 10 minutes. And you look at the time and it seems like an hour. And it's only been 8, 9 minutes. Pretty soon it's 20 minutes. Then it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And you panic, but you can't leave the spot because if you leave, the guy's got a perfect excuse to burn you. You have to stay. And you're thinking of all the things. You could get rousted. You could get picked up for marks. In those days, if you had marks on your arms, they could throw you in jail. And then you'd have to go to jail sick. You're thinking of how wonderful it feels when you put the needle in. It takes all the cold away and the chills and the agony from your mind. Finally, the guy comes back. He drives up and looks at you and shakes his head, kind of frantic. And right away, you know there's some kind of game going. The guy will drive by and pretend that the heater behind him. And then he'll sneak back to the street and whistle at you. And you'll go over and it'll be, oh man, I almost got busted, man. Hijo. He'll be raving on, and you'll know, oh God, I'm burned. The guy will say, I gave him the bread, man, and he went into the house to get the stuff. And all of a sudden the narcos came and they broke in the door and I was hiding in the back alley. All this time I was afraid to run. Wow, man, I'm sorry, hijo, I'm sick too. You got some more money, man? Maybe I know another guy. And oh, Jesus God, you have to go out and get more money and you're sick. And even when you get the money, you don't know whether you can cop. Other times, the guy comes back with the stuff, but you're out in the street, so you can't get at it to taste it. Even if you do, it might have a lot of quinine in it, which makes it bitter, so it tastes like stuff. So you get to the outfit. You go to some toilet in a gas station or in a laundromat. You put the stuff in the spoon and pour the water in it, and then you see the stuff floating. It's floating on top. It's floating on the water. It's baking soda. You try to cook it up anyway, even though you know you've been burned, and it turns into paste. It just bubbles into a paste. Other times you cook up and it's the real stuff and you've gone through all these things to score. And I've been in a shitter and all of a sudden the needle will clog and I can't fix and there's nothing I can do. I've got to get out of there and find some way to get a spike. It wasn't legal to sell them anymore. They got harder and harder to get. Or the rubber on the eyedropper might break or the Jeep might leak. And you go to shoot the stuff and most of it shoots out the end of the dropper instead of through the needle. So I'm doing this little penny ante boosting, making enough to get 1 gram or 2 grams at a time. And then I'm out again and I'm thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? My friends were telling me, hey man, what are you doing out there stealing things? Why don't you straighten up? Go to work, make an album. I get letters, want to record? Play here? I was too fucked up to do it. I got more and more angry at myself, hated myself for what I was doing. I'd let so many people down by not taking care of business. The talent I was given, I was wasting it, throwing it away. And I was bitter that I had to go to jail. Friends of mine, musicians I'd played with, roomed with, they'd been using for years and never went to jail. I know they got busted, so they must have just ratted on somebody to get out of it, you know? And here I am, because I'm trying to be a decent human being and not be a rat. I'm in jail all the time. Why? I'm not hurting anyone, just getting loaded. I got bitter at people. I was angry and bitter. I would be out hustling, trying to score. I'd be sick, and I'd see people going to work in the morning, all in their nice cars, dressed nice, clean-shaven and clear-headed. I'd see them going to work, and I'd still be standing on the corner, waiting for some guy, freezing someplace in the evening as they were coming home. Here come the same cars back, and they're all smiling and happy, just the guys in the neighborhood in East LA. And they go into the market and they get a check on Friday, man. And they cash that check and they buy their juice and they're happy. They're not sick. I hated them. I was envious of them. I would say, look at those chumps, fucking assholes, lames, fucking rabble, sheep, animals following the leader. I'm not like that. I'm different. Fuck them. Fuck society. I'd rave like I used to hear my dad rave about the rabble, the scissor bills, the kikes, the spics, the niggers, the tramps and floozies, on and on. Each time I got sick, there was more and more fear and hate, knowing I was trapped and I couldn't stop, knowing I was going back to jail. I was full of animosity and so jealous, and all I wanted was a lot of money, man. so I could lay up and really drown myself in heroin, saturate myself with it, so I wouldn't feel or see, so I wouldn't want to cry or die. All I wanted was lots of money so I could make myself totally oblivious to everything. When I was in jail, I heard a lot of stories. Guys gather in little groups. You walk down the freeway and look in a cell, and there'll be 4 or 5 guys talking about shooting this stuff and that stuff. Or someone will come up to you and say, "Hey, Art, take me on a trip." And you'll tell about something you did, something that happened to you, the whole thing. You paint a picture. On the street, nobody will listen to anyone else for more than a minute, a couple of minutes at most. But in jail, people will listen if a guy can talk for 2 or 3 hours straight without ever saying a word. Some are better than others at it, and they'll paint some beautiful things, sometimes about women, but mostly about different junk they've had, how good it was, and about big scores they've made. They'd pull a robbery, and instead of buying a gram or a quarter, they'd buy a piece or 2 or 3 or 4 pieces and sell a little bit and lay up and just fix and not have to go out on the street. So now what I wanted was to find somebody to help me pull an armed robbery. I wanted to go in with a gun, get the money, score, get away from the scene, and cool it. I went to person after person looking for someone to do it with. Every now and then I'd run into somebody who, in the joint, had talked about what a big man he was and how many armed robberies he'd pulled, which I believed. I'd see him, and now it was, "Oh man, I just got married, and my old lady," or "I just had a kid," or "Man, the heat is so hot. It's too hot around here. I'm afraid that the man has got the pad staked out." What it boiled down to was that the guys were just chicken. They were just bullshitting in the joint, and they were really nothing but street hypes running around stealing the easiest things they could find. I kept looking, and I kept asking Ruben. I told him, "Man, let's do something, or are you just a bullshitter too?" He finally said, "Okay, but we're not going to do it like a couple of idiots, like these guys that run into these little markets and get shot for $20 or $30. Let's take our time and look around and find some place where we can get something worthwhile." There was a bar in East LA. All the gangsters and the big dope peddlers hung out there. Ruben said we could really get a haul. It was a hands-off place, an in place. You just don't rob a place like that, because if those gangsters found out who it was, they would kill us. We cased it. Ruben found out where the bread was. We staked it out for 3 weeks. We were going to do it in the morning when the cleaning guy, the mayate, the spook, cleaned it. We figured they might have 20, 30 grand, which was a lot of bread, a lot of dope. But it wasn't only the bread or the dope. It was the idea of having the balls and the heart to do it. Everybody would be out to kill us. Me, Art Pepper. And I wanted to have a gun because I wanted to be able to kill somebody so I could be the cat that was the violent one from prison, from the movies, you know. I wanted to shoot 2 or 3 people because I thought it would prove my strength. The time comes and we meet, and Ruben gives me the strips of wire to tie up the spook, thick wire like baling wire. I fold it up and put it in my pocket. He gives me a crowbar, and I say, "Where's my gun?" And he says, "I'm not going to give you a gun, man. You're too crazy." You see, they all thought I was insane. It kind of knocked me out. These were violent killer gangster type cats, guys that had stabbed people in prison and killed them. And they thought I was too violent. Me, a musician, real lovable, a loner, a real melancholy type person. They were afraid to give me a gun, and that flattered me. We went to a gas station across the street from this bar and fixed one last time in case we were killed so we'd be straight. I had the wire in my back pocket and the crowbar, and Reuben had the gun. We parked the car the way we planned it, and we watched, and all of a sudden, 2 mayates come out and start cleaning the windows in front. There's 2 spooks instead of 1. It's the first time. There's been 2. I said, I told you you should have let me have a gun. What's going to happen now? If I go in the back or in the front or wherever you go, I'm going to be without a gun. He said, it's too late now. Do you want to forget it? I said, I just want the money, man. Let me have the gun, man. Let me do it by myself. Let me go in and kill them. I'd lost interest in seeing if I had the balls or not. I knew I had the heart. I could have killed anyone, 20 people if I had to, just to get the money, to get the dope. Reuben said, I'll go in the back. I'll subdue them. You stand by the front, by the door. You wait, count to 100, and then walk in. I said, I walk in? What if they got a gun? They'll just kill me. He said, you want to do it or not? I said, all right, fuck it. Go ahead then. This was Monday morning. They were going to take the money to the bank at 10 o'clock. It was starting to get daylight. The people were waiting at the bus stop to go to work. Here I was. I was just going to walk in dead through the front door. Reuben went to the back. I waited and waited. I counted. Then I went in. Reuben had one guy down lying on the floor. The other one had his hands in the air, and Reuben had the gun on him, a violent, old-looking gun. The guy was just praying, don't kill me, please don't kill me. I walked in and he saw me and just flipped out. He was shaking all over, and Reuben said, tie him up. I started walking toward him. I reached in my back pocket to get the wire, and he thought I was reaching for a gun, and he went completely crazy. He broke and ran. He started running toward me toward the door. He was a great big mayate. I grabbed at him and tried to hold him, but he pulled away. I yelled at Reuben, kill him, shoot him. And Reuben had the gun on him, but he didn't fire. And the guy just ran right through me and out the door screaming, help, help, they're going to kill me, help. I ran to the door to try to stop him, and then I ran back. I said, what are we going to do now? Why didn't you shoot him? Boy, what a fucking asshole you are. Talk about having balls. You haven't got any heart at all. Where's the money? And I ran around behind the counter and started ripping out cabinets and tearing things apart to try to find the money. Reuben ran out the back door. The other guy was still lying on the ground. I couldn't find the money. I ran out thinking that any minute a bullet was going to hit me. I could hear noise and people screaming, and I ran around the corner, and Reuben had started the car. He was making a U-turn. I ran to the car, grabbed the door, jumped in, and we drove away, and I kept yelling, you lousy motherfucker. Boy, what a yellow cocksucker you are. Reuben stopped at Rachel's house where I was staying. He said, I'm going to let you off. I said, what do you mean? We haven't got any money. Let's go rob someplace. Let me have the gun. He said, no, man, I'll see you later. I said, what a yellow motherfucker you are. All these people that were supposed to have so much nerve. I felt I had way more balls than they did, and I didn't think I had any heart at all. I thought, who am I supposed to look up to? Who am I supposed to follow? Who am I supposed to like? And what am I supposed to pattern myself after? It's morning, I'm sick, no money, no dope, and at any minute I might be picked up by the police or killed by the Chicanos if they find out who tried to rob this place, and it's all for nothing. I went to Rudy's. I said, oh man, let's do something. I didn't tell him who I was with, but I told him what had happened, and I said, here I am sick, man, and I don't know what to do. We went out. We went to a gas station. He turned the guy and I took a battery charger. We went to a fence. I think we got $60 for this beautiful battery charger. We bought a quarter of stuff and I was so drugged and unhappy, we just shot it and shot it.